I'd like to talk to you today about the ways that the U.S. Embassy and the U.S. government support the democratic process here in Zambia and indeed in other democracies around the world. The United States is a friend of democracy in Zambia and around the world. As we've said many times, we do not take sides in Zambia's elections. We do not take sides. We never have and we never will. We have friends on all sides. We support a free, fair, transparent, and peaceful democratic process. Free, fair, transparent, peaceful. We support Zambia's democratic process. We do not take sides. The U.S. government stands arm in arm with Zambian people and indeed all people around the world in working for and protecting democracy. We walk hand in hand in striving for the ideals of democratic freedoms that are laid out in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, the international covenants that guard our freedoms around the world. Zambia has signed on to these covenants, the United States, and all democracies around the world. The national elections that will occur on Thursday provide an opportunity for Zambians to have their say in how their country's run. Political parties and candidates are presenting their vision for Zambia, and at the end of the day, you, my Zambian friends, will decide on which vision wins, which candidate you want to support. This is a competitive election, and as we've seen in the United States, results can defy polling. We have seen media reports claiming one side or the other will win, but such polling does not guarantee how voters will freely vote on election day. So be skeptical about the polls you've seen. Voting depends on voters who have to travel to the polls, wait in line, and cast their ballots. Elections depend on turnout and dedication, as well as officials who are dedicated to democracy and upholding the democratic process and the will of the people. Now, there are a variety of ways that we support democracy and democracy defenders. These are the tools in our democracy toolkit, and that's why I'd like to talk with you today. The tools in our democracy toolkit. Broadly speaking, there are 4 categories of actions and programs that we engage in. 3 we have spoken about many times. 1 is private diplomacy with government and opposition, civil society and church organizations, among many others. We talk to everybody privately. 2, the public diplomacy that I'm engaged in with you today, talking to you as the media and the people of the country as part of a dialogue to highlight issues of concern and give support to the democratic process publicly. And 3, U.S. funding in concert with other donors that provides technical assistance to strengthen the Electoral Commission of Zambia, its elections administration, stakeholder management, voter education, and support for civil society organizations to undertake nationwide monitoring and observation of key electoral processes. These include election day polling and helping develop and implement advocacy strategies to strengthen the democracy system. So these 3 means of support, private and public diplomacy and democracy programming, are the work that the U.S. Embassy does every single day to support our Zambian friends who are democracy defenders. Now, in addition, I'd like to talk to you today about a 4th category of U.S. tools that are intended to support and underscore our commitment to democracy. And you will have seen these tools used in other elections in Africa and indeed all around the world in different countries. Now, when fundamental human rights and democratic freedoms are violated, the United States can and does, according to our law, apply visa restrictions, travel bans, and financial sanctions. We have used these measures, visa restrictions, travel bans, and financial sanctions, after fundamentally flawed or fraudulent elections. Recently, in Uganda, Nigeria, Tanzania, and other countries, including very recently in Nicaragua in Central America. We apply these measures because we are serious about our commitment to human rights and democratic principles. We will hold accountable any individuals who promote violence, who undermine electoral processes, who engage in fraudulent or corrupt behavior, or otherwise violate democratic rights and the foundations of free elections. Now, U.S. visa sanctions, lifelong travel bans, and financial sanctions can be applied to officials in government and quasi-governmental bodies, security and police forces, political party members, whether from ruling party or opposition, party cadres or leaders of such groups or front groups, business financiers, election managers, and any other figures who participate in or instigate others to violence. Again, it comes back. We want to see free, fair, transparent, and peaceful. We want to support people who promote these principles, and if you don't, these are where the concerns lie. Visa sanctions can be applied not only to officials engaged in inappropriate behavior, but it also can impact their spouses and their children as well. There are Magnitsky sanctions for corruption and other gross violations of human rights that can lead to international asset freezes and financial sanctions. Now, Zambia has a commendable record of democratic elections. This is the birthright of every Zambian man, woman, and child. As we approach Thursday, August 12th, I want to urge Zambian citizens to do your patriotic duty and vote for the candidate of your choice. Shun violence. Support the democratic electoral process. We will continue to engage everyone to work for a free and fair and transparent vote. We will continue engaging with the Electoral Commission to support a transparent process that includes counting, observing, reporting, and publicly announcing results along the way, constituency by constituency, so that we all can continue building confidence in the electoral system and process. I want to make sure and be clear that there should be no intimidation of voters by cadre groups from either party. The police and military should apply the law equally and humanely in defense of the safety and fundamental right of Zambian citizens to vote and participate in the democratic process, including the fundamental freedoms of speech and assembly. These are internationally recognized human rights. It's not the rights of America or Western countries. These are the rights of Zambians, the international standards of human rights of all countries who are democracy around the world. They've been signed onto by the United Nations and other international treaty bodies. They're the birthright of all of us as democracies. So on August 12th and the days following, the eyes of all Zambians, and indeed the world, will be watching the actions and the words of Zambia's candidates, party leaders, cadre mobilizers, police and military officers, and representatives of the state and quasi-independent organizations that conduct elections, rule in the courts, and administer the law. You carry the very weight of your nation's democratic history, and its future is on your shoulders. Let me add one brief word. Today we heard a press conference from Dr. Nevers Mumba, who raised concerns on his own behalf about the conduct of the election. I would just say on a personal note, I was personally gratified to hear Dr. Mumba raise his concerns, but do so without withdrawing from the race. which was a concern that had been reported. What we would urge is that candidates in the race for president continue in the race for president. Don't withdraw from the race and raise concerns about constitutional questions about the election going forward. And as I mention all these various measures, we want to mention that as part of that context. Candidates, please remain in the race, participate, work hard, and do the best you can. But don't withdraw. We're watching. Now, Zambian people are strongly committed to going forward with this election on Thursday, as required on that date, August 12th, by the Zambian Constitution. The Zambian people want it. They deserve it. They are ready to vote. The Electoral Commission is ready to conduct the election. Parties are ready to participate. Our observers are ready to observe. And the candidates are ready to stand. Now all eyes are on Thursday. And for Zambians, it's up to you to decide. Thank you very much. And now I'm happy to answer some of your questions.
Thank you very much, Zambia. So you know the drill. Raise your hand. The mic will come to you. You state your name and the media organization you work with and ask your questions. So who's got the mic?
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. My name is Esnat Lungu. I'm a journalist for Spring TV. So my first question is, Zambia, you've already seen this in your statement. Zambia has been known to be a beacon of peace over the years on the continent. Is there anything that you have observed in the electoral process so far that you think might change that reputation? My second question is, have you deployed any observer mission to any parts of the country? And then my last question is a slight drift from the elections. Talking about the vaccines, now we have observed that the US government has been deploying different kinds of vaccines in different countries on the continent. My question is, I observed that you sent different brands of the vaccines to different countries and in different numbers. What criteria do you use to choose which vaccine goes to which country and how many vaccines go to which country? Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much for those questions. With regard to Zambia's reputation as a beacon for peace on the continent, this depends on the commitment of the country to multi-party democracy and acceptance by citizens of democratic process peacefully. You know, I think all of us, Zambians and friends of Zambians, are concerned about counter violence. There have been some tragic incidents, including recent killings of people from different parties because of counter violence. This scars the reputation of Zambia, and we need to focus to make sure that law enforcement prevents these kind of actions and that people are brought to book if they engage in counter violence. I also think that the participation of all parties equally is a very important thing to support the principle of multi-party democracy. And having an outlet so that candidates, supporters can participate in the campaign, go to vote, supports the process of peaceful elections. So we all want to see peace in the campaign period as it ends. On election day, we want to see peace. And in the counting of the votes and the acceptance of the voice of the Zambian people, we want to see peace. Everyone wants peace for Zambia. With regard to observer missions, the United States Embassy is deploying 12 observer teams around the country to various regions of the country to help in the observation that we will see. So we will participate as part of international observers to see the different parts of the country, and I have my credentials, and we'll both be observing polling stations around Lusaka and also going to the Mulungushi Conference Center as the results start to come in over the next several days. With regard to vaccines, the United States has provided 300,000 vaccines thus far to Zambia. These have been of the Johnson & Johnson variety. This is a perfectly safe vaccine. It's safe for all women, all men. It's safe for pregnant mothers, for nursing mothers. My daughter got this vaccine, and she's fine, and she's protected from COVID. It's a fine vaccine. Zambia has also received many doses